Welcome into the webinar. I'm Ethan Broussard with Keaty Real Estate, and if you've made it this far, it's obvious that you're looking to take your business to the next level. Have you been in real estate for less than 2 years, and are you struggling? That's the two things I want to know. If so, this webinar is just for you. Look, I understand it's more difficult than you might have thought it would be when you got into real estate. I was in your shoes, right? I went from a struggling agent at a very small brokerage, and now I've maximized the resources and everything that comes with the Keaty Real Estate brand to put my business where it needs to be. A friend of mine was in the business in New Orleans. He said, "Oh, man, it's super easy. You should get into real estate. I'll take you under my wing. It's going to be great." And I believed him because I didn't know any better, right? You take your license, your classes for real estate, and you think, I can do this. This is easy. And I keep saying the word easy. You think it's going to be easy. But what they don't tell you is that you don't learn how to practice real estate when you take your online classes, right? What my friend failed to tell me is that he had a large sphere of influence. He knew a lot of people that had money. It was easier for him to get started in real estate than it was for me, a younger guy in a foreign city, New Orleans, right? And I didn't have a sphere of influence there. So I was definitely hit with a harsh dose of reality when I got started. And to be honest with you guys, I wouldn't have made it if I wouldn't have come to Keaty. So now I don't want to make this webinar all about Keaty Real Estate. It's more about just opening some eyes. But I am going to reference a lot of the stuff that we have here at Keaty with our slides. There's no easy way to say this, but without leads, you don't have closings, right? So today we're going to talk about leads, how to find them, where to find them, how to convert them when you do find them, and what to do with them after you do get them to agree to work with you, right? So we're going to talk about everything in between. We're going to talk about scripts, buyer presentations, CRMs, what works best. I was lacking these resources, these tools, and the trainings, and I'm going to give you the tips and tricks to talk about lead conversion and what you need to succeed. So we do have a couple of slides that I'm going to reference. So we'll start with the first slide. And this one's pretty easy, guys. These are the things that I think you have to have. These are your non-negotiables as far as who you need to be successful in real estate, right? Now, these are core values that we've helped create here at Keaty, but these can be used at any company. I don't care what brokerage you're at. You have to have these core values as a person, as a realtor, right? You always have to give 110%. You cannot make the money that you want to make doing it part-time or doing it at 50%, right? You have to be all in. Integrity, you have to do what you say you're going to do. In other words, if I tell a client, I'm going to find you the perfect house, and I don't find them the perfect house, who are they going to blame? Me, because I promised them the perfect house. So you have to do what you're going to say you're going to do. Continuous improvement and growth. That comes training, right? Trial and error, but mostly training, growing, using the deals you've closed to continue to improve your business. Servicing the clients and the community. We're going to talk about how to leverage community events and clients into more business, right? But you have to have that mindset that everyone you meet in the community and everyone you help with now is going to lead to more money in the future. And of course, you have to be able to turn problems into positives. You have to have positivity. It's really easy to be negative in this business. A couple of things don't go your way. All of a sudden, you're losing faith in the system, or you're losing faith in yourself. So these are core values that if you don't have these, it's going to make it a lot harder in real estate. So I would say that these 5 things, if you can make them non-negotiable, you're on a fast track to success before you even get to all the resources. Now, in this next slide, we look at a lot of the resources that we have at Keaty, and there's a ton of resources out there. There's 70 plus resources that we have in-house, but I'm going to start with a couple of things that I want to talk about, and we're going to start with leads. I know you're here to learn how to make money in real estate, so I'm going to start with the quintessential thing you need to make money, right? To get a closing, right, you need a contract, you need a purchase agreement. To get a purchase agreement, you need a showing. To get a showing, you need a client. To get a client, you need an appointment. To get an appointment, you need a lead. The reason I lay it out like that is because a lot of people think it's going to be easy. Oh, I'll find a guy who wants to sell his house, and I'll sell his house. Where do you find that guy that wants to sell his house? Where do you find that lead, right? Leads can come from anywhere. The barbershop, the grocery store, your sphere of influence, people you know, right? But let's say you're not from Lafayette or not from the area you're working in, and you don't have a sphere of influence, you don't have a go-to barbershop, you don't know anybody at the grocery store, these things make it harder to manufacture leads, right? So what do most agents do? They go to realtor.com or Zillow.com and they buy leads. I was there. That's what I did at one point. I would spend thousands of dollars that I didn't have. I was, mortgaging my future, my money now for hopes that it would lead to money in the future. But the problem with that is if you're a single agent spending hundreds or thousands of dollars on, let's say, 5 to 10 leads a month, because that's what it would cost on Realtor.com when I was doing it, you have to convert at such a high ratio, at such a high rate that to pay off that $1,000 a month you're spending, right? So I didn't have that. When I got to Keaty, leads were at my disposal, and it made a huge difference. The volume of leads that were available to me created an atmosphere where I could call hundreds and thousands of people, right? And even if my conversion rates were low, I would still convert enough to make money. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. So where are your lead flows right now? Where are the leads coming from? We have to think about who is going to be buying a house or selling a house. Things like who's getting married, who's getting a divorce, who has kids moving out, who has kids going to college, who needs to downsize, upsize. These people, when we find the motivation, are your leads, right? So if you meet someone on the street and they say, how's the market, which they all do, you have to be able to tell them, well, it depends. What are you looking to do? You're looking to downsize? Oh, okay, well, and then you know where to take the conversation. A lot of realtors don't understand how to communicate with a lead, right? So I'm getting off on a bit of a tangent here. I wanted to focus on lead flow, but my point is without a process, a script to follow, and knowing how to handle these leads, you'll never convert them. So let's say you only have 10 leads and you don't know what you're doing with them and you only convert 1 out of 10. That's only a 10% hit rate. That's very low. What we try to do is we give you hundreds of leads here at Keaty, and even if you're only converting at a 10% rate, you're still now at 10 conversions, right? So it's more of a volume game here. In this slide, you see a lot of the resources that we have. I'm only going to focus on a few of them. We talked about leads. Coaching is the first thing you see here on the top left of these resources. Now here, you're going to have, I didn't have coaching, right? I didn't have a mentor. I had a guy who knew real estate, right? And he was a broker, but he really didn't provide me the trainings I needed. If I wanted them, I had to go spend money to get the trainings or the classes, right? Here at Keaty, we have a one-on-one mentor program with me, the Director of Agent Development. Jim Keaty's always available, and we are always doing trainings and role play. So coaching is a big part of what we do here. If you don't know how to interact with the public or what to say to the public, then you're going to fail. So coaching is a big thing. Of course, we have our in-house media company, Media Engage, which I'm going to get to in a second, helping you leverage media for your marketing purposes, for your real estate listings, things like that. That is huge. No other company in town has that. So that was big for me. The world-class CRM, the reason I want to go there is because once you start collecting leads, if you were like me, when I first started, I had a notepad, maybe an Excel sheet, maybe some sticky notes. When I get a lead, I'd write down all this stuff, and then the odds of me losing that info were high. The kid takes the notebook and throws it away. The wife moves the sticky notes into a big pile, and I can't find the notes I made. So a CRM, which is, if you don't know, aren't familiar with it, customer relationship management program, is very important. It's vital to your business. You have to be able to organize all these leads in one spot, to track the conversations and their whereabouts, to see what they're doing on the websites. CRMs, without a CRM, you're basically spinning your wheels, and relying on old school methods like pen and paper and even Excel sheets are not efficient, and you will lose money because of the lack of efficiency. So I highly recommend getting a CRM. Here at Keaty, we have a world-class CRM that helps us really manage everything from that first conversation all the way to closing. One more thing I wanted to mention on this, we don't have it on this slide. We have buyer-seller presentations. That's a big one. If you do get a lead on the phone and they say, yeah, I'd like to buy a house, sure, I'd be happy to meet with you. Most agents don't know how to take that answer and convert it into a client, right? We want to get that lead into a client. So how do we do that? When they come into the office or when you meet them at a coffee shop or wherever you're meeting them, you have to be able to present to them a compelling enough case or a compelling enough presentation to make them work with you as a client, right? They have to want to work with you. Now, most realtors say, oh, I've sold 50 houses and I have a good brand behind me, and trust me, I'm your guy. Well, for some buyers and sellers, that's not enough. And for a lot of new agents like you don't have 50 closings to reference, right? So we give you the buyer and seller presentations here at Keaty to make sure that you know how to convert that lead into a client. And also, working as a team here with 40 agents, 50 agents, we can say that we close over 600 deals a year. My team closes 600 deals a year, right? You can disarm that objection if they say, how long have you been in the game? Or you can say, instead of saying I closed 50, you can say, my team has closed 600. So it establishes some authority with the lead. It tackles the objections that you may get from a lead saying, well, how long have you been doing it? Or how many deals have you closed? So when you leverage the team like that, it's huge. And when you have a presentation that takes that and works it all together, and you show them the value of working with you, the odds of converting them from a lead to a client go up substantially. One more thing I want to mention here, and that's not on here like I just said, is phone scripts. A lot of new agents get into real estate and they think it's easy and they say, well, I'm going to talk to some people and I'm going to tell them I'd like to sell their house, and that's it. But when they get on the phone, they don't understand how to communicate with the lead properly. There are about 12 or 13 objections, true objections that a lead will give you on the phone. And if you don't know how to handle them, well, first of all, you have to know what those objections are. And if you don't know how to handle them, then you will get hung up on. They will get off the phone. You're going to basically let them off the hook. And I'm talking about an internet lead, right? You have to know the objections. You have to know how to overcome the objections and stick to the script. So buyer scripts, seller scripts, role plays, all of that has to be done on the front end before you start calling your leads. If you're spending hundreds or thousands of dollars on leads and you don't know how to keep them on the phone, keep them talking, convert them, you're basically lighting your money on fire. So here at Keaty, we have scripts, we have buyer-seller presentations, we have everything you need on the front end to convert that lead to a client. And then we have the CRM to keep that lead nurtured properly all the way from beginning to end. And then believe it or not, our CRM, even after you close the lead, the CRM does its magic and keeps the lead in your pipeline, in your funnel, so you don't lose that lead. I can't tell you how many times I've sat at a table with a potential buyer or seller, and they say, oh, we've purchased a house before, or we've sold a house before. And I say, well, who was your agent? And they go, well, I don't remember. It was a few years ago, and they were really nice, but I don't remember. Well, if I'm sitting at that table and they're interviewing me to be their agent, that means the previous agent has not kept in touch with that lead. They probably don't have a good CRM in place to keep that lead under that client under their umbrella of business. So those are some things that you need, resources, right? You need leads, you need scripts, you need a CRM, you need all these things to make sure to convert. And one more thing I'll mention while we're on this slide, tracking. We have a tracking system that can track everything you do from phone calls made to spoke tos, right, all the way to appointments, closings, open houses, et cetera, all the key indicators that you're going to be doing or that you should be doing out of the gate. But our tracking system actually allows you to track everything else, like videos made, shorts you make or YouTube clips you make, really dissect how you're marketing, how you're doing things in the community, right? If you go to a fundraising event, we want you to track that. If you're not tracking your business, we have no way of knowing how you got to the point you're at or how to get you to the point where you want to be. A lot of agents do not track their key indicators on the front end, their lead indicators. All they focus on are closings and money, right? But if you sold 20 houses this year, okay, and you made $100,000, wouldn't you like to know how to repeat that or how to make more than that? Well, you can't if you don't track the front end indicators. And if you're struggling, like you think, like most of you probably are if you're in this webinar, I can't help you get better if we don't know how you're performing on the front end. If you're telling me, Ethan, I'm talking to 1,000 people and you're guessing, right? Well, I'm going to say, well, how are your scripts? If you're talking to 1,000 people like you say you are, and you're only closing 5 deals, then there's a big issue with your script work or your follow-up work something in there. But the problem is we don't know exactly how many people you've talked to. So if you track it and you were to tell me I talked to 572 people this year and I made $18,000, that's not enough. So now we know if it took you 570 spoke tos to make $18,000 and you want to make $100,000, just doing some rough math, I should have had this written down, you need to talk to 2,000 people to make $100,000, right? We can specifically turn your front-end production into money. We can project. So all of these things are rolled into one, guys. And the reason I wanted to stick on this slide for a little bit is because without some of these resources, without most of these resources, it's very hard in real estate and it's easy to fail. I was in your shoes. I didn't have these things. And now that I do, my career is blossoming, okay? On this next slide, I want to talk about having a good staff behind you, okay? And not every brokerage has a staff like this. A lot of smaller brokerages don't have staffs at all. You have your broker and your agents, period. When I was in New Orleans, when I was starting out, I didn't have a staff. And when I did convert a lead into a client, we started showing houses, right? And I got lucky and wrote an offer. Now the paperwork started flying, and I didn't have anyone to help me with the paperwork. I didn't have anyone to help me process the paperwork. I didn't have anyone to keep me accountable on deadlines and making sure that the paperwork was all done correctly. Having a staff like we do here at Keaty takes a lot of the pressures of the, I don't want to say minutia, but it takes a lot of the pressures of the paperwork and some of the small stuff that happens in between getting a client and closing a deal. It takes them off of your plate, which allows you to keep prospecting, okay? So obviously we have Jim the broker, again, a fantastic guy. You can go on our YouTube page and check out a lot of his videos and really feel like you know him on there. And then we have Lainey, who's our operations manager. She keeps the office running. We have office space here. We have, public use computers where any of our agents can come in and pop a squad on any of our computers. And it's fantastic because they have access to all of our programs. Lainey keeps the lights on in this place. Vicky, she takes care of the checks. When I get paid, I don't have to worry about how do I split this commission. I just turn in some paperwork to her. Boom, we get paid. Carlene, our transaction coordinator. Having a TC is life-changing. And if you don't have a transaction coordinator now, I guarantee you're getting bogged down in the paperwork. Well, having a TC, and we actually have a team of TCs behind her, it allows you to take a file, hand it to her, and say, I'm under contract. Here's the good faith deposit check. And then they take it and go from there. You're just going to do a couple of inspections, and you're going to be prospecting for the next deal. Real estate agents don't get in the business to do paperwork. And having a team of TCs really alleviates that pressure. Of course, I'm on here. I'm the director of agent development. That stems back to the coaching resource that I started with. You have me one-on-one from hire date until you decide to fly the nest. And I make sure that you have everything you need to be successful. And to be honest with you, I put so much time and energy into new agents, and I say new agents, anyone new to the company, that it really hurts me when people don't make it. So we make sure that we try our hardest to make sure agents don't fail. And that's what all the staff here has in common, right? Angelica, Anna, Amita, they run our front desk, and Angelica kind of manages them. They do MLS data entry. They do listing entries. They take care of moving your photos in and out of the MLS. They make sure your disclosures are correct. All these things that bog you down that would take an agent like a full day to do, these staff members do it all in a matter of a couple of hours. I could turn in pictures and some listing paperwork in the morning, and my listing is live that afternoon. And oh, by the way, they're sending out constant contact email campaigns. Oh, by the way, they're notifying all the agents in the office that they have leads that match my listing. A lot of the stuff that would take me a lot of time to do gets done in a couple of hours. Of course, we have Media Engage. I'm sitting in their studio right now. Fantastic. I've never heard of another brokerage in town. I don't think there is one that has an in-house media company. They help us with editing, shooting, marketing. They do our photos for our listings, and they're in-house. So if you need something, you don't have to worry about a third party, calling you back in a few hours when they have time. We have Kate here who manages the schedules and does a lot of the marketing. We have Tommy. He's a wizard. You'll meet him. And Andrew takes a lot of our photos for our listings. He does a lot of our editing and our training stuff that we give for the agents. And of course, we have a property management department. I won't spend too much time on them. They are fantastic. But what's great about having a property management team under our belt is because if I get a lead that says, well, I have 2 or 3 rentals, I'm getting a little bit bogged down. I don't want to buy more. Well, what can I offer them that would maybe allow them to buy more properties? A property management department. Let me take those 2 or 3 rentals off your hands and let our property management team handle them so you can go and focus on finding the next deal that makes money. So having that resource in your back pocket is fantastic. We have other things as well. We have Smart AC, which is an AC company. We have Smartscapes, landscaping company. The reason I'm saying all this and spending so much time on this slide is because the things that I'm saying here, I can offer all of these things to the client, and that sets me apart from the other agent that doesn't have the team backing them up. On the next slide, we have more resources. So this is the Keaty Creative Marketing. I want to talk about marketing. If you are an agent that's paying certain websites like Canva or anything else like that, you're paying money, and then you have to go in there and create your own marketing materials, your own flyers, your own stuff. It takes time. If you're not good at that stuff, it takes more time. Sometimes the products may not look like you want them to look. What we've done here is we've streamlined the marketing material process using Keaty Creative. What you'll see is there's one agent here on all of this marketing material you'll see on the slide. All we have to do is drag and drop, right? This is Brennan, we take his face, take his info, we drag it onto these templated marketing material items, and then boom, they're ready for mass production. Whether it's mailers, we can print them. Whether it's email flyers, we can email them, right? So it's clean, it's templated, it's neat, it's easy. And oh, by the way, we have staff members here that can help you learn, operate, and distribute. So this is a great tool. And frankly, I use this to set myself apart for listing presentations. When somebody says, oh, what are you going to do to market my house? I'm going to show them this and say, look, these are just some of the things that I can create within a few minutes, right? Other people can't. And while I'm on that, we have very specific marketing material for you, the agent. In what we've done here is you slide your photo right here, and then all of a sudden this is a piece of marketing material that you can take to your presentations for your buyers and your sellers. What I'm getting at is if you don't have things like this, you're already losing to guys like me who do have these things. If I sit down at the same table with a pair of sellers that you did earlier today, I'm going to beat you because they know that I'm going to have more tools in my toolbox to sell their house, right? Keaty AI, same thing. It's another website that we've developed. This takes their listings to the next level. It's all about optimization. In today's market, in today's climate, when things aren't flying off the shelf, inventory is not selling in 30 days. Now it's taking 60 and 90 days. I want to be able to tell my seller that if your house takes longer than you expect to sell, it won't be because of the lack of tools, the lack of marketing, or the lack of effort that I'm putting into it. Whereas most agents go into a listing appointment and they say, well, it's not selling in 60 days, it's probably just the price. That's the last thing a seller wants to hear. That is their fault that the price is too high. Of course, price plays a part in it, but if I have to go tell my seller that price is the reason why it's not selling, at least I can say, we've done everything else possible, and now it must be the price. I've marketed it. I've optimized it. I've used these websites. You've had a personal tour. You've had music. You've had all the bells and whistles. If anyone has seen this listing on the internet and not moved on it, it's probably because of the price. Now, wouldn't that mean a lot more to a seller than just saying, well, I don't know why it's not selling. It's probably the price. We should drop it. What are they going to think? They're going to think, this agent just wants me to drop the price. Well, I'm saying it's not my fault. We've done everything we can. It's probably the market reflecting that the price is too high. Mr. Seller, do you understand? And they're going to be much more prone to either extend the listing or, frankly, not fire you. All right, so we've talked about leads. We've talked about scripts, coaching, everything, software, optimization. We've talked about a lot of that. If you don't have all of this, you're already behind the 8 ball. Now we're going to talk about what it takes to be an expert, okay? We don't want to just be realtors. We want to be an expert realtor, an expert advisor. We have to convince people to trust us making the biggest decision of their life, right? What do? We make sure that all of our agents are exposed to, if they're not a part of, things like YPN, Young Professionals Network, the RAA, Louisiana Realtor Board, NAR. We go to conventions. We have agents on boards and committees. We have people involved in these things. The reason why is because obviously knowledge is power. You know that. But when I can tell a seller I'm a part of this board, that board, I'll go to all the conventions for realtors. I'm on the cutting edge of all the technology. I'm on the forefront of all of the new material that is out there for me to be able to service you better. Again, it's about establishing authority and separating yourself from the agent who's just an agent that maybe does it part-time. Do you understand the vibe I'm going for? That's the idea. So we make sure that all of our realtors are a part of these. And of course, there's hundreds of boards and events, and these are just 4 of them, but we're on a lot of different things. I'd love to tell you more about that. And before we get to the next slide, obviously we're talking about a lot of resources. We're going to go forward talking about community events, but I did want to say the reason I'm building this up is because all of this stuff is set up to make sure that the buyer or the seller knows that you are the best, right? That's the whole point, because there will come a time where you're competing against another agent. There will come a time when a buyer is hesitant to hire you because of your age or your experience or the lack of experience. And all of these things that we do sets our agent apart, and we don't even have to worry about those objections. So that's why I'm harping on these things so much. But look, guys, I told you that I started with barbershop talk and grocery store talk. I want to talk about community events, okay? This next slide, you'll see that we are super involved in a lot of community events. We do Maddie's Footprints. It's a charitable organization. It's fantastic. We do blood drives. We do school drives. We participate in cook-offs. We do a lot of different fundraising and community events. Now, why is this important, right? We want you to be a well-rounded human, obviously, but a well-rounded agent is able to take these community events and leverage them for business, okay? Now, obviously, I don't want you to always think about making money on these things, but when someone in the community Googles you and they see on your social media pages and your Google page that you're involved in the community and you're a good realtor and you know your stuff and you have all the tools, well, now there's no reason for them not to work with you, right? So my point is that here at Keaty, we take all of these community events and more, and we leverage them to get clients. We leverage them to show other clients that we are, great people. And a lot of realtors, a lot of other brokerages don't do things like this. And if they do, they definitely don't leverage it properly. We look at everything as a potential marketing event. All right, look, and I know I'm pumping Keaty Real Estate's resources. This slide here is just to give you an idea of what other agents are saying about Keaty. You're going to hear a lot of agents are going to say, I didn't have this, and when I came to Keaty, I had it, and that's what set me apart. If you check out the QR code at the bottom, you'll see a video with some agent testimonials. And really, anyone, if you walked into Keaty Real Estate today and you said, I'd like to talk to a couple of agents about the experience, they would all have the same messaging, that without these resources, I wouldn't be where I'm at today. Without the staff, I wouldn't be able to perform. Without the leads, I wouldn't have made the money I've made. So here at Straight From Our Agents, not just for me. Now, obviously, this slide, we are looking for agents, right? And I'd be happy to talk to you on a one-on-one basis about joining the Keaty Real Estate team. There's a QR code at the bottom of this slide that it takes you to our Join Now page. I'd love to chat with you one-on-one about joining our team at Keaty. And that's the end of the slideshow. I just want to say, if you were in this webinar and you feel like I've missed something, I'd love to chat with you, right? I will go ahead and give you my personal cell phone number. It's 337-223-0484. Call me, text me. And I think if you go to that apply now and you put your info in, I will get it first, so I'll be able to talk to you. I'd love to talk to you about some more resources we have. We didn't have time to cover them all today. If you want to talk shop, and even if you're not thinking about changing brokerages, but you just want to talk about real estate and pick a brain of a guy that's been in it for 8 years now and a guy that's, overseeing the development of a whole team, I'd be happy to talk to you. Bottom line, guys, you have to have leads. You have to have scripts. You have to have a CRM. You have to track it. You have to have good support. You have to have a good team. If you don't have even one or two of these things, you are missing out on optimizing your business and leveling up and making the money that you thought you could make in real estate. I get it. It's hard to change, and I get it. The grass isn't always greener. You've probably heard that 1,000 times. But I can guarantee you that if you don't have these resources and you don't have a lot of the things we went over in our slideshow, you are operating behind other agents. So again, I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you've learned something. And of course, I am interested in talking to you. So feel free to reach out. And we look forward to talking to you about real estate or maybe even joining the team. I'm Ethan Broussard, and thanks for watching.